Welcome, dear listener, to Spirituality in the Brain. I am Vanessa Anceloni, your host, and we are here to discuss about the latest findings on neuroscience, which is the science of the brain, and the teachings of Spiritism. Today, we're going to talk about how books, stories can change our lives and our brains, and how that actually bridges up with some teachings of Spiritism. In the journal Brain Connectivity, it was just published a paper by Drs. Blaine and Pai from the Center for Neuropolicy, Emory University. Their findings are such that reading a novel may cause changes in the resting state connectivity of the brain. As they say, stories shape our lives and in some cases define even a person. And they wanted to understand how stories get into the brain and what they do to it. So they focused on the lingering neural effects of reading a narrative, and they studied subjects which were evaluated for 19 consecutive days. They were reading a novel and they were scanned in their brains by using functional MRI, and by doing so, they evaluated what it did to the brain. The results showed higher connectivity in certain areas of the brain, such as the left temporal cortex, an area of the brain that is associated with the receptivity for language. And they also observed higher connectivity in the central sulcus of the brain, which is a primary sensomotor region of the brain. Neurons of this region have been associated with making representations of sensation for the body, which is a phenomenon known as grounded cognition. So, for example, just thinking about running, for instance, can activate the neurons activated with physical act of running. And they say the neural changes that we found associated with physical sensation movement systems suggest that reading a novel can transport you into the body of the protagonist. Now we're seeing that something may also be happening biologically. So here we have, dear listener, for the first time, science shows to us that when we are reading a novel, a book, a narrative, it can actually change the connections in our brain, the activation of the brain. Of course, there are many questions to be addressed in that regard. For example, how long does that change persist? But in the meantime, we'd like to bridge up this latest finding of neuroscience with Spiritism. Emmanuel, in 1947, wrote through Chico Xavier that when Chico Xavier was psychographing the book Liberation, which is already in English, by the spirit author André Luiz, he said that that book is a great defense against imbalance, against evil. There you go. So Spiritism is telling us that by reading books, we can actually transform our lives. For you, dear listener, it may seem second nature, but the importance of this finding in science is to show to us, first, that when we're reading books, we can truly transform our lives, and second, it can physically affect our health. It can physically affect our connectivity in the brain, showing to us that Spiritism has great wisdom. When the spirits bring 469 books through Chico Xavier alone, there must be a reason. So Spiritism is always at the vanguard of humanity's knowledge, bringing to us not only the knowledge, but the tools to change and transform our lives. So, as we wrote in the editorial of the Spiritist magazine issue 22, when we talk about an unprecedented letter from Chico Xavier, and by the way, you can access the Spiritist magazine free of charge at thespiritistmagazine.com. When we wrote the editorial, we talk about how books may change our lives, and we suggest that you can boost society's transformation by giving away books, magazines as gifts, especially to kids and teens, donating books and magazines to libraries, sharing the good readings in your social media network, participating in book clubs, and reading more and more yourself. The publisher Odyssey of America has wonderful books by Spiritism. Dear listener, we hope you get to the 2014 year with this new perspective. Books can actually transform our lives. This is it for today. If you have any questions, suggestion, or a comment, please write to us at KardecRadio.com. We have a contact form. Just write to us. Share your comments, your suggestions, or your questions. We'll be happy to listen from you. In the meantime, keep feeling the blessings of God.